Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all keeping well. We are live here at Monza, and we're looking forward to this one, certainly back here at the Autodromo Nacional de Monza. 5.793 kilometers, that's 3.6 miles. Track opened back in 15th of May, 1922. That is when we broke ground. Of course, we opened the circuit then only a matter of months later. 11 corners is what awaits the drivers. My name is George Morgan. Joining me in the commentary box is Ian Silvestrin. Ian, we're in for another cracker, mate.
Yes, we are on, thankfully, a glorious autumnal afternoon. Thank you for that historic introduction. You know how much I am passionate about history. This historic circuit, which celebrated one centenary of motor racing just a few weeks ago. Of course, 14 days ago, almost to the hour, Max took victory in the Italian Grand Prix here at this very circuit. This is race 2 of GT Cup here this afternoon. Yesterday, we raced the first of 2 events for this weekend in pouring rain. This afternoon, the sun is shining. Jan Lauritsen, well, he's got one hand on the trophy. This is the championship leader. The Belgian in car 54 goes down through the Ascari chicane. It'll be a 50-minute race. The pit stop window from 21 to 29 minutes. As you look at Juan Font, they're in for a good shot here this afternoon, sharing the car with the Andorran, Joan Viñez. On a dry track, thankfully, so no chance, well, I won't say no chance of the Michelin wets, but for the moment, the Michelin slicks.
Absolutely right. The cars now lining up in their positions. Very shortly, the safety car will send them out on their way. But there we can see Jan Lauritsen just making his way through. And he will then take his position on the front row of the grid. Alongside that of Charlie Hollings, who makes his first appearance this weekend in GTOpen. Of course, he was part of the team that raced yesterday, but now starting on the front row for this race this afternoon. We'll look forward to seeing how they get on as they make their way down through towards the Rettifilio chicane. But nevertheless, there'll be plenty of other drivers looking to take the plaudits themselves. Juan Font, who's currently sat in 4th, was looking increasingly quick in qualifying. Currently the fastest AM in this group contingent. He'll have John de Wilder in behind as well, the Dutch supercar champion from back in 2019. Nicolas van Dierendonck there in behind too, has been known to challenge as well with Stefano Zanini, Glauco Solieri, Jahid Faisal Karim making up the solitary Aston Martin in this contingent. Though all eyes will be on the front, of course, because Jan Lauritsen, Charlie Hollings, Lucas Valkra in the mix as well. Dirk Schouten, of course, will be taking his place in the car when the driver change window opens too. I got a chance to catch up with Dirk earlier on, and he was looking forward to the race this weekend. He said he would have preferred rain if they did have rain, but the sun has been shining all afternoon. It's a pleasure to see. Obviously, we were talking about Cypriot weather yesterday in the commentary box, Ian. But obviously this time we've got bright conditions here at Monza.
Although officially the race has been declared wet, although that is more of a formality. As we look at the front 2 rows of the grid, yes, the sun is shining. It is into autumn, just a few days after the end of summer. Rear Lucas, Charlie Hollings, 76, car 76, team 76 in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Out of grid 2, this is Lucas Valkra. Out of grid 3, sharing the car with Dirk Schouten, who led for, well, the vast majority of yesterday's race 1. The French-Dutch combination. And this is the Spanish-Andorran combination. Juan Font with Joan Viñez. They start out of grid 4. John de Vilder's next. He finished 2nd yesterday. He'll start out of grid 5.
Highlights from yesterday's race 1 indeed. Dirk Schouten, who started on pole position, of course, qualified fastest. Jan Lauritsen alongside him as well. They went side by side down through towards turn 1. Juan Font, of course, right in the mix as well further back. But we saw the drivers cascade through in these wet conditions. Of course, the water was downpouring from the skies. There, of course, was Campbell Perrion, who took an off into the wall, and the tyre coming loose from the front left part of the chassis. It then found its way into the steel barrier. That car lingered for a brief period, but then coming to a solitary stop later on. We saw the driver changes being undertaken. Obviously, more of them. Jan Larijsen would then move into the lead of the race, with Lucas Valkra then taking the wheel of Dirk Schutten's Porsche as well. The two working together, obviously, this weekend, as they will do today. And then, of course, the highlights is that we saw the lead car, Jan Larijsen, take victory and claim top end on the podium. And these are the standings as a result. Jan Larijsen, who came into the weekend on top, remains so with 90 points to his name. There's then a gap of 17 points to Dirk Schutten and Lucas Valkra, with John de Wilde in third, with Eugenio Pisani and Stefano Zanini in fourth spot. So it brings us now to race 2. Ian, Jan Larijsen will start on pole for race 2. And we're about to get underway, of course. Charlie Hollings starts on the front row. Here are the finalised grid positions. P1 for Jan Larijsen alongside Charlie Hollings. So it's a Porsche and a Lamborghini on the front row. Row 2 goes to Lucas Valkra and Juan Font, the two Porsche 992s. They'll tie up together, leading down towards turn 1 as well. P5, that went to John de Wilde, alongside that of Nicolas van Dierendonk. P7, that'll then go to Stefano Zanini, who lines up alongside Glauco Solieri. Both of them also sharing Porsches 1911 and 1992. There, of course, we have the Aston Martin of Jahid Faisal Karim alongside Fabio Fabiani. And that will round off the grid. 10 cars go today. Unfortunately, we will not see Camel Perrion and Florentin Sescu after that off that we saw in the highlight reel, Ian. It was a spectacular crash.
It was, unfortunately, the R01 team they had packed up overnight. The car was unrepairable, and they're just about back in Bucharest by the time the car set off on their formation lap now. So they are out. We do hope to see them back, the drivers who took part in the first official Barcelona test at the start of the season. And we hope they finish off the season in 3 weeks' time at Barcelona. Jan Larijsen on pole position. He's the championship leader. He's got 17 points over Dirk Schutten and Lucas Valkra, who start right behind him on the grid. But new for this weekend is
Jan
Charlie
Larijsen,
Hollings in the Lamborghini. This is the
pole
pole
position
sitter.
for race 2 this afternoon at Monza. It's dry this morning, but the track is slippery.
Yeah, it were not a typical condition for the quali, but yeah, at some places were very tricky. So in the beginning we have to find for some grip, but yeah, we made it. So pole position for race 2.
And you seem to enjoy Monza very much.
Yeah, I really enjoy Monza. It's something special to drive here. So yeah, I really enjoyed the circuit.
Another victory this afternoon.
We try.
We'll call you Remco then.
Okay. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
So the car's on their formation lap, thankfully on a dry circuit. The safety car will pull into pit lane at the end of this lap, and we will be ready to race the penultimate round of the GT Cup Championship. It's a 5-round series, starting at Paul Ricard in the south of France at the start of the year. Spa-Francorchamps for round 2, Hungaroring, that was round 3. This is round 4, and the series will be decided at Barcelona in Catalonia in 3 weeks' time, the northeast of Spain. Incidentally, the 2023 calendar has been announced this weekend here at Monza. We'll bring you up to date with that throughout the course of our broadcast, roughly similar to this year's calendar. 5 events racing together with GTOpen and also the Euro Formula Open Championship as well. John de Wilde, car 56, had a great run yesterday. Position 2 in the rain. It was a strong, aggressive drive as well. Starts on the 3rd row of the grid, car 56, the purple machine flashing by. That's Nicolas van Dierendonk in car 52. And then the Italian combination, Stefano Zanini, car 44, Glauco Solieri for the legendary Kinsani Motorsport team. Speaking of legends, underneath the old banking, which thankfully in the 1990s was not demolished. I told you I like history, George. There was a petition to save it, and thankfully it does still stand here this weekend. In fact, the Moto Trials or Trail Donations for moto racing is also taking place this weekend within the parklands of Monza, along with the penultimate round of this, the GT Cup Open Championship.
Yeah, it plays a poignant part in the history of Monza. Of course, the Tempeler Speed, as everyone knows, and the circuit that these drivers will be undertaking, 5.793 kilometers long. That's 3.6 miles. as I alluded to before, broke ground back on the 15th of May, 1922. Opened up officially for racing on the 3rd of September, 1922 as well. A matter of months after breaking ground here at this very circuit. They don't waste any time. There's Rio Lucas watching on as well. Charlie Hollings starting on the front row of the grid for them in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car. 11 corners await these drivers now. The safety car will pull in, and they will head down through towards the Rettifilo chicane, turns 1 and 2. It will be Charlie Hollings and Jan Larijsen grouped together. Jan Larijsen starting from that pole position as they head around the Parabolica, and will await for the lights to go green before putting the hammer down. As you can now see them 2 by 2 in behind Lucas Valkyrie, Juan Font as well, with John de Wilder also in the mix as they head up towards the line. They're about to go green here at Monza for the 2nd time this weekend, and they do, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 and as they do so, Jan Larijsen getting a brilliant jump indeed. Lucas Valkyrie got a good run, as did Juan Font. We got a 3-wide situation for 2nd place. Juan Font with a huge opportunity to usurp that of Charlie Hollings. 3 wide though, Charlie Hollings cutting across in through to the Rettifilo chicane. In goes Juan Font, Glauco Solieri for the back as well. Nicholas Van Durendonk getting into the free as well, as we're going to see the cars rounding the Curva Grande, rounding now this next right hand at a very fast pace. Indeed, right now we can see that of Charlie Hollings currently leading it on track. I'm sure the stewards will take a look at it though. Juan Font in behind too, with Jan Larijsen alongside him. Juan Font holds on to that P2 as well. Nicholas Van Durendonk right in the mix too. Further back, Lucas Valkyrie has lost a few places, and a puff of gravel as they go through the Rogier and into the Lesmo, Ian Silvestrin.
Font actually off the grass, in the grass there at the exit of the Rogier chicane. Bump and grind. It was reminiscent of a NASCAR start. A clean start for the race 2 here this afternoon. Nope, no chance. Charlie Hollings, though, has got the race lead. Font was actually in the gravel. He was in 2nd place as well. And a good start there for Stefano Zanini in car 44. He's moved up into 5th place in the early stages of the race. So Charlie Hollings in the 76 Lamborghini. It's a Super Trofeo spec Lamborghini. Has got the race lead. Cutting across Jan Larijsen right over the chicane. The Porsche can ride the bumps nicely as they go down the back straight for the first time. So Hollings in position 1. Jan Larijsen, the championship leader, tucked in behind him into the Michele Alboreto Parabolica for the first time.
Yeah, Jan Larijsen now trying to close up on Hollings. Hollings running a little bit wider than what Jan Larijsen is as they now ride up further. Valkyrie managed to snatch P5 away from Solieri, and now Zanini, Stefano Zanini's moved up into 6 himself as well, as they now rush down through towards the 1st and 2nd corners. You can see the front end of Jan Larijsen's car just flapping. That's the bonnet. Now, did that have something to do with the contact around turn 1 at the very start of the race? Remember, it was Charlie Hollings who had a brief spell of contact between him and Jan Larijsen, not to mention throw in as well. You see there, Lucas Valkyrie just cutting across the circuit as well. They really are battling for position right now. John de Wilder has just gone ahead of Glauco Solieri for that 7th place as they're around the Curva Grande. Hollings still holding on to that advantage, but that damage must have happened on that first lap there, Ian.
Possibly. It has broken a mounting pin. That is clear to see. It is obvious. Jan Larijsen will get a glimpse of that over the dash in car 54. It has broken a mounting pin, and the front bonnet, of course, the engine is obviously in the rear of these cars, these GT Cup cars, all of them. Well, with the exception of the Aston Martin of Jahid Faisal Karim, who's made a good start, avoided the carnage. The mid-engine car, so the bonnet has lost a mounting pin for the championship leader. It won't correct itself either.
No, not at all. As we're now watching the cars now streak down the Serigilio straights. This is the replay of the start. Charlie Hollings on the outside line didn't get the best of launches. Juan Font did though. Lucas Valkyrie also getting a good run indeed. But then a nudge in the back heading into the Rettifilo chicane. Juan Font would end up pushing Charlie Hollings through that first chicane. We didn't see that from the camera angle at the very start. Nevertheless, there you can see Ria Lucas. A big clap of applause there for Charlie Hollings. Obviously getting through at the start. Incident involving at turn 1. Cars 76, 13 and 54 are under investigation. So that's Charlie Hollings, Juan Font, and of that of Jan Larijsen. So you've got the top 3 all under investigation with the stewards from the start of the race.
Back to live pictures now. Charlie Hollings under pressure from the championship leader. Look at the bonnet. That gap is bigger than it was a lap ago. He's in trouble. He probably just wants to ignore it. but the stewards will be having a good look at that as well. We'll leave that aside for the moment. Charlie Hollings tries to build some momentum. Those cars running 1, 2 and 3 are under investigation. As we look at John Deville, their second in the race yesterday's drop back to 7th off the start, ahead of Glauco Solieri, Jahid Faisal Karim and Fabio Fabiani in the trophy class in car 9. Into the Rocha chicane. The race winner yesterday, the championship leader, Jan Lauritsen, just shadows the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, rides the ripple strip, gets a great run at the exit of the Rocha chicane, dives down the inside, but Hollings closes the door. So the front two skipping away in the early stages of this race here this afternoon, out of Lesmo 1 into Lesmo 2 at the far part of the circuit. And they race down under the historic banking where the World Sports Car Championship of Makes raced on the high banking circuit for the last time. That's it right there, way back in 1969. Hollings into the Ascari chicane. Lauritsen dives down the inside. Hollings goes deep. The Lamborghini Super Trofeo, it is a handful under brakes. We'll see it move around as the tyres start to wear. And Lauritsen, no problem, he just smashes over the ripple strip and he gets the tow from the Lamborghini. Not much of a tow because look how low the car from Bologna sits as they race down the back straight. Font in 3rd place, Van Dierendonk, Lucas Valkyrie in P5. But remember, the first 3 are still under investigation for that start.
Yeah, certainly now. Jan Lauritsen coming around this parabolica, getting so close to Charlie Hollings. Of course, that front flap, you can see it distinctly as he makes his way down the straight. You can see it now just flapping on the front there. It's not causing any concern, certainly for Lauritsen's pace. He got the fastest lap on lap 2, and therefore is now pressurising that of Charlie Hollings. Right in the slipstream there of the British driver as he now head down into the Rettifiero chicane. Still not quite enough as that Lamborghini still holds on to the lead here with just over 44 minutes to go. Lauritsen, though, with that significant pace advantage, it seems to be in the Porsche, certainly exiting some of the corners. It certainly seems to me that the Porsche has that extra little bit of pace as they head around the curve of Grande. Now a single 10th, a solitary 10th in between that of Hollings and Lauritsen. The gap thinner between them than a fly's eyelash as they now make their way in towards the next chicane at the Roger. There's then a gap to Kwame Font in 3rd with Van Dierendonk in 4th. There is a gap of 1.8 between Van Dierendonk and Font, with Valkyrie now 9 tenths in behind those. Of course, Dirk Schuiten will be taking the place in the car in just under 14.5 minutes' time, as now we're watching Charlie Hollings come around the second Lesmo, with Lauritsen now hot on his heels as now they venture into the Serigilio straight. There is the Porsche. Look how close he is. He is literally riding that rear wing of that Lamborghini Super Trofeo as they now head down through towards the Ascari chicane. Will Lauritsen look to pick his spot late on the brakes? It is slightly more controlled in these situations, though the Porsche literally pushing Charlie Hollings through this point of the circuit. But Hollings not saying yes, he's not giving in. He is literally saying, no, this is my lead. I'll take the advantage here in the early stages. He still does so, though, as they head down towards the Parabolica. This is a thrilling encounter, Ian.
It certainly is. Lauritsen, I suspect, is playing with him. Charlie Hollings is super experienced. 3 decades of motor racing in GT racing, also in World Formula 3, but the Porsche seems to be quicker. Look at the Lamborghini in particular, under brakes. It is a Super Trofeo spec car, as opposed to the Porsche right behind it. Sits a lot lower. George, I'm still personally concerned. Look at the front bonnet. That gap is getting bigger and bigger. He may well lose it. And watch the Lamborghini under brakes down into the chicane. Keeps it straight this time. Lauritsen out wide over the ripple strip, up onto 2 wheels, gets the power down into the gravel though. And now it becomes a WRC car ever so slightly. Wow, so relief for Charlie Hollings, the early stages of the race. Font still in P3, position 3. Nicholas Van Dierendonk in 4th. Of course, Nicholas was 3rd in the championship last year. Look at the exit from Jan Lauritsen. It looked as though he had Charlie's measure, but Hollings says, no, you don't. And then Jan Lauritsen, the Belgian, ran off the road.
Just fancy grazing that gravel ever so slightly. You don't want to do that too often. It has given Charlie Hollings some breathing room now. 1.1 seconds. Remember, that was a single 10th earlier on. They have declared the incident at turn 1, no further action for the top 3 cars. So Charlie Hollings does hold on to the lead as things stand, leading the Pro-Am contingent as he makes his way down the Serigilio straight, still behind Jan Lauritsen, who's going to look to try and regather himself, reconfigure that delta time, bring himself back into the fray and attack Charlie Hollings. As you just see there, a little bit of movement in that Lamborghini as he slams the brakes down. You see the front end immediately slap down to the floor as he really does slam the brakes on. It's into the very sharp section of Ascari. Larison already starting to catch him up now, 0.3 of a second. The pace in that Porsche is phenomenal as he now heads down through towards the Parabolica. Charlie Hollings now is going to ride through the Parabolica curve with Larison hot on his heels, right on his tail, right in that rear wing. The Porsche certainly right now, Font 3.4 seconds in behind him. 0.2 of a second is all that separates Hollings and Larison right now. Larison currently topping the championship standings as now they make their way down the main home straight. Hollings still with the lead. Larison in behind, that front wing flapping as now we're seeing Lucas Valkra tackle Nicholas van Dierendonk down this home straight. This is for 4th place. Certainly Valkra, who's managed to get a nose in front, leading towards the start-finish line as they venture into the Rettifilio. He'll have the favourable inside line, Lucas Valkra, and he does take that 4th place, and I'm sure Dirk Schuiten is there in the garage giving a little bit of a golf clap.
Nice pass from Lucas Valkra, the Q1 track racing team cars. Stefano Zanini in the background for SP Racing, sharing that car with Eugenio Pisani. So nice racing here in the early stages of this race. George, I am staring at the timing monitor and the word that we're getting from race control. They are watching the bonnet of Jan Laurissen's car, but no action for the moment. And then our attention turns to the driver change window. I'd suggest that as soon as that opens, he'll go down into pit lane and they'll try and fix that as best they possibly can to get him to the end of the race. For the moment, well, there's an advertisement for Porsche reliability. Despite breaking a mounting pin in the opening lap of the race, Laurissen is still circulating and quite quickly as well. Laurissen on your screen in second. Charlie Hollings, super experienced, is the Brit. From the Porsche on the exit.
Look at the difference between them as they cut into the curves. That Porsche looks so menacing as it makes its way through Ascari. The Lamborghini not able to tackle him as hard as now they go side by side into the Parabolica curves. The Porsche of Jan Larison now will look for the lead. Will he take the lead though? As now down the inside, Charlie Hollings refusing to give up here at this moment in the race. They still remain side by side. The Lamborghini and the Porsche together now side by side still as they come down the main straight and begin yet another lap. Larison, though, with the straight line speed, he's managed to get a better launch out to Parabolica as they do stay side by side. Hollings not going away, though. They are literally neck and neck in towards turn 1, into the Rettifilio. Charlie Hollings with the inside line, the favourable line, holds on to the P1 spot now. But what's Larison going to do? He'll have the Curva Grande to then reenact another overtake as they now venture down towards the Roger there, Ian.
Fabulous racing. And despite the fact that traditionally the GT3 Cup car in second place is better under brakes than the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, Charlie Hollings, he wouldn't budge. He holds him off for another lap. There is Font in the background, 3.8 seconds behind. Nice driving from Charlie Hollings. This is impressive, in fact, on debut in the GT Cup Europe Championship.
We could be witnessing the battle of the season here between that of Hollings and Larison. Don't forget, though, Schuiten will be coming in for Lucas Valkra later on. Valkra not having a bad first stint indeed. He has gained places. He's up into 4th place, managing to overtake Nicholas van Dierendonk. If you remember, he didn't have the best of starts to this race, but has managed to claw it all the way back and is now a mere 2 seconds behind Juame Font, as now Hollings now makes his way in towards the next chicane at Ascari. And behind now, Jan Larison will surely look to perhaps tee up another move. Just look at how aggressive he takes that final curve at Ascari. Of course, Charlie Hollings' Lamborghini can't do that. Of course, the floor height is just significantly lower than that of the Porsche. And the sheer suspension, the spring on it is just so much more effective for the Porsche as it now looks to the outside now. Once again, Larison looking to pressurize that of Charlie Hollings. Now, obviously, going out wider like that will give him that little bit of extra straight line speed. Just seems switching to the inside now. Heading down this long straight, they'll go past the pit lane now, and Larison once again will have to go hunting. You can see now the flap on the bonnet again aggressively wavering under the air, the gust of breeze that is now finding its way through this car as Jan Larison now goes side by side with Charlie Hollings once again, but once again Hollings, stern defensive, that Lamborghini frustrating that of Jan Larison right now.
270 k's an hour down the straight, and in fact the fact that Laurissen is in the slipstream of Hollings is actually saving that bonnet from being damaged, well, slightly. Just praying to get to the pit stop window, 7 minutes time. Hollings driving superbly in car 76. He'll be handing over to Ria Lucas, the British Cypriot combination, the British team, car 76, running a car in GT Cup as well as GTOpen as well. There is Jaume Font in the background, the first AM driver as well. As we already start to approach half race distance. The penultimate round of the championship. Lauritsen has tried absolutely everything. The inside, the outside, hasn't been able to do it. As you look at Faisal Karim in the 007 car come onto the straight. Across the line, right behind him is Fabio Fabiani for SP Racing, sharing the car with Stefano Zerbi. Down into the first corner, the French driver, the aerospace engineer. Much better run from Faisal here, Jahid Faisal Karim this afternoon. Back to the fight for the front. Just straight lines the Riddle strip. That's Jan Lauritsen. And Charlie Hollings just white lines it. Goes to his right, to your left, down the back straight. Jan Lauritsen tries the IndyCar, the NASCAR high line. Will it work? Nope. Tucks back in, and Hollings lives to fight. I won't say for another day, maybe for another kilometre. If he's lucky, Jan Lauritsen gets the run though. Charlie Hollings again goes to the right. Lauritsen might get him though. Down into turn one, the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, of course, has got great straight line speed. Goes down the inside. Lauritsen, if he didn't turn left then, he would have been in the grass. And Charlie Hollings just puts the Super Trofeo 76 Lamborghini in the middle of the circuit. Lauritsen, the championship leader, right behind and in position 3 as these two fight. Jaume Font is catching the both of them.
Yeah, you could argue now that with Hollings' stern defensive, it's bringing in Font and Valkyrie into the fight as well, as they now go certainly in twos, heading around the curve at Grande. Certainly Hollings leading the charge. A tenth of a second has now sprung out to 3/10 in between him and Jan Lauritsen. Lauritsen's form this season has been sensational, obviously top in the championship. As we now take a look at the Street Art Aston Martin, this is a replay of the two coming together. We have got car 9 belonging to Fabio Fabiani. Oh, getting so close and personal, heading around turn 1 and 2 and spinning the rear end. Oh, very lucky. Fabio Fabiani was so fortunate. He could have easily gone into the back of that Street Art Aston Martin, got very close between the pair heading through Rettifilio, just flicking that rear end on the Aston Martin, Jahid Faisal Karim.
This time he holds onto it. Nicely done by Jahid.
He did. He did not end up in the gravel trap this time, so that is the improvement. We'll give him that.
Yep, definitely in these, well, yesterday very trying conditions. That's the place though. The fight for the front continues between Charlie Hollings. Jan Lauritsen has thrown absolutely everything at the Brit. And look in the background, Jaume Font is starting to catch the both of them. Lauritsen around the outside, tries the move. He's done it. What a pass by the championship leader. Just sends it on the outside of the Parabolica after shadowing him for the first half of this race. Finally, Jan Lauritsen goes through. Now Charlie Hollings tries to fight back. Goes left, goes right, goes left again. Lauritsen, the championship leader, now in position 1. The Lamborghini traditionally not as good under brakes. Charlie Hollings does not know that though. Goes in very deep, skates under brakes into turn 1. But Jan Lauritsen retakes what he believes is his rightful position into turn 1. Into the Parabolica, so close to touching the back of car 76. Around the outside, says if you're going to white line it, no problem. I'll take you on your left. Jan Lauritsen, Q1 Track Racing Celebrate. Here with 4 cars this weekend, and they run in position 1. And now the question is, will he skip away? For the moment, the gap on your screen, just 3/4 of a second. There's Font in the background. Lucas Valgren, Nicholas van Dierendonk. Car 52, of course, Nicholas, who's P5 at the moment, finishing position 3 in the 2021 championship as well. Zanini, John de Villiers, second yesterday in the rain, but only 7th on a better track here this afternoon. Lauritsen under the bridge, down into the Ascara chicane. Yes, we are nearing the pit stop window. Ria Lucas suiting up to take over from Charlie in, well, no less than 2 minutes and 44 seconds time. That is when the pit stop window does open here in race 2.
Absolutely right, and obviously the form book for Jan Lauritsen, very impressive. After yesterday's win, he's racked in every single podium he has gained this season. It has been 6 wins, 6 podiums for 6 wins for Jan Lauritsen. So a wonderful visit, certainly all season long for him. And that is exactly why he's our current championship leader. But he's got plenty of talented drivers that are still yet to hit the circuit. What about Dirk Schutten, still chasing that first win, despite taking pole position on 4 separate occasions this season. Stefano Zanini has got a problem. The Eugenio Pisani car SP Racing is slowing down, and that doesn't look like a positive sight to me, Ian.
Certainly not. Was running quite well, in fact, going ahead of Solieri. Fabiani fighting there with John de Wilde, who was second in the race. And the 44 Porsche is about to pull down into pit lane with a serious problem, running slowly on the back straight. And crucially, we're still less than 2 minutes from the pit stop window, although you do suspect that Zanini's problems were greater than that. Back to the fight for the front. Lauritsen now 1.6 seconds, so finally he has pulled away from Charlie Hollings. Font with Valkyrie right behind him. Gee, the Porsches really like the ripple strips here at Monza. There is Van Dierendonck in the background. John de Wilde behind him in the sunshine as they go through Lesmo 1 and 2. Glauco Solieri on your screen. Car 12 for Arco Ghinzani Motorsport. Having a good run in position 7. Stefano Zanini has pulled down into pit lane. It is before the pit stop window has opened on the driver change window, which is 1 minute away now. And car 44 with serious problems here this afternoon.
Yeah, not good at all, certainly for him. Jaime Font, who is currently holding on to third, has Lucas Valkyrie all over him. Lucas Valkyrie having a wonderful drive, certainly, this afternoon. Don't forget, Dirk Schuiten will be taking his place in the car in little over 30 or so seconds time is when the driver change window opens, but you do wonder they will have to go out for yet another additional lap. Obviously, the way this is timed, some cars may be able to come in earlier, a lap earlier, therefore to give themselves a run out sooner than those who are still yet to box. As now we can see, that is Fabiani's car, if I'm not mistaken. Fabio Fabiani in the box. As now we see Jaime Font now heading down the home straight. Lucas Valkyrie all over him. Sorry, Stefano Zanini in the box. In fact, Fabiani still out on track in 8th place, sorry, as we're now seeing Lucas Valkyrie. Oh, he has to cut the chicane yet again now. And that means that he might have to forfeit the place there to Jaime Font as they now head around the curve at Grande. Jaime Font, who was in P3, they went side by side down through towards the rectification chicane. Valkyrie, though, opting to cut the chicane at that particular point. Must have overshot it.
I think that's a better choice of words there, George. Had to cut the chicane, decided to cut the chicane.
Say no more.
Really? I was just going to say he's got a steering wheel and a brake pedal. Give him credit, though. He is driving the car. It's not a criticism. It's more, no, I won't say track limits. Regardless, we are waiting to hear from race control if they will order him to slow and cede the place to the Spanish driver behind him, Stefano Zanini, down in pit lane, and it looks as though the problems for car 44 are terminal. So Valkyrie did go through. In fact, he went straight through as well. Just skates under brakes. There is no grip on the inside of the circuit, particularly with the rain overnight. And Jaime Font, as we look at Stefano, that's a disappointment. It looks as though, yes, the helmet is off, and Stefano Zanini has retired from race 2 here this afternoon. Former runner in the Carrera Cup in Italy, also racing the Maserati Super Trofeo Series back in 2012, 2013. As we look at Jahid Faisal Karim, better run from him this afternoon, keeping his nose clean as Jan Lauritsen goes by, still with the bonnet flapping. It's obviously of no concern, a broken bonnet mounting pin. He's still out in position 1. The gap back to Charlie Hollings, now 3.7 seconds. Fastest driver on the circuit, Lucas Valkyrie, with a 151.165. Font, Van Dierendonck, John de Wilde, Glauco Solieri. And we are now into the change, or the compulsory pit stop section, from 21 to 29 minutes of the race. Flash of the lights from Jan Lauritsen, even though that is not permitted. We get a warning on our timing screen that flashing is not allowed. Nevertheless, Jan Lauritsen says move over and does exactly that. Fabio Fabiani obliges as Glauco Solieri comes down into pit lane.
Yeah, no change there at all. He will remain in the car, the solitary driver of that number 12 machine, as he now heads through and will have the necessaries taken place there by the teams as well. Lauritsen still out in front, 3.6 seconds now the advantage ahead of Charlie Hollings, with Lucas Valkyrie putting together some big laps too. Now, one has to wonder whether Valkyrie will box in the next lap or so to allow for Dirk Schuiten. Look at Lauritsen there, skipping over those curbs through the Ascari chicane. He is just having fun out there in that Porsche. And now 4.4 seconds clear of Charlie Hollings. You can now see in the distance, he's about to lap as well the car in behind too. As now we see Larison take the Parabolica very, very shortly. Will he opt to box or will he choose to stay out for as long as possible? He is the sole runner in his Q1 track racing Porsche. Here is the replay.
He's turning the Ascari chicane into a rallycross circuit. 4 wheels off the deck.
Incredible.
That looked as though he was slow. No, he stayed out.
Brilliant scenes indeed, certainly from Jan Larison taking the Ascari chicane the way he does. Of course, he's still out on track, doesn't opt to box. We've still got just under 4.5 minutes left in the driver change window, and we've got more cars now sprinting down on through. In comes now Lucas Valkyrie, so he does opt to box now, and will allow Dirk Schouten to come into the pit. Stefano Zerbi now jumping in the car too. Julian Darris in the Street Art Aston Martin. There you can see now Dirk Schouten going to work there on Lucas Valkyrie's car. Now we all know the pace behind Dirk Schouten. There is the Street Art Aston. And in comes Julian Darris with Jahid Faisal Karim now stepping out of the car. They'll serve their time. Also make sure the car is prepped and ready to go racing again. There is car number 9 belonging to Fabio Fabiani, who steps out with Stefano Zerbi now taking the wheel in this midst now. And obviously whoever hasn't had changes, they will have to undertake it now within the next 3.5 so minutes. So very little time left. You get the feeling that the majority will come in on the next lap.
Good stint from Jahid this afternoon. He'll be happy with that after a forgettable Saturday in the rain yesterday. Hands over to the young French driver, Julian Darris, GT4 European champion from a few seasons ago. Out front, Jan Larison down through the Ascari chicane. Watch this as he rides the ripple strip. Launches it. There was nothing but fresh air between the Michelins and the asphalt here at Monza. There is Charlie Hollings, the gap, 5.3 seconds in P2. Not too far away from both of these cars coming in to stop. Jan Larison in car 54 will stay in the car. Looks as though he's slowing through the Parabolica. Or do my eyes deceive me? No, into pit lane. So the race leader for his compulsory stop will stay in the car, doing the race solo. Charlie Hollings, you can hear the V10 Lamborghini follows him in. We'll hand over to the Cypriot-based driver, Ria Lucas. 76 Lamborghini Super Trofeo spec car versus car 54, the 992 GT3 Cup car, which is on your screen in position 1. The first 4 in the pits. Here is Charlie Hollings getting out. Ria Lucas, she's getting in. Joan Vinales also taking over the wheel of the 13 car. And John DeVille there down into pit lane as well. Here is Font and Vinales, the change for those two.
They're making those changes happen now. You can just see them working hard. John de Wilder also in the midst of a, well, certainly getting prepped, ready for the restart. Obviously, this is where they check the pressures and make sure the tyres are ready to go out. You can see him opening the door. It gets very hot inside the cockpit. And there you can see them fixing the bonnet pin on the front of that Porsche belonging to Jan Larison. I think there's a little bit of tape they've chucked on the front of it, in fact, just to stop the air from catching underneath it. So smart moves there indeed from the Q1 track racing team, as we're now seeing Dirk Schouten out on track now, replacing that of Lucas Valkyrie amidst the driver change window. Now this will be very interesting to see where Dirk Schouten comes out now. Obviously all the cars are currently in the pit lane. Jan Larison being one, so is Ria Lucas. Vinales as well in there, Joan Vinales, as well as John de Wilder. There is Jan Larison. I get the feeling he's going to be well clear at this point. I'm watching him out of my commentary box window. Now where is Dirk Schouten? As we now see Jan Larison sprint out now back onto the circuit. There in the background you can see what looks to be the street art. There is Dirk Schouten right in the distance, so he has got some healthy space here, as now we see Ria Lucas, who's still out in the pits, now entering on her out lap, as well as Joan Vinales, who's now out on track as well. Vinales now with Schouten. Schouten now moves up into second place. A great pit stop phase for Dirk Schouten and Lucas Valkyrie.
You just saw Jan Larison. He got to the end of pit lane and saw he's got an electronic timer in the cockpit of the car. If he goes out too early, it is a handicap penalty. So he actually had to slow it. We've seen cars in the past actually come to a dead stop when the teams release them too early. They're timed so they don't go out too quickly. They can't go out and beat the handicap, so to speak. He actually slowed up, almost came to a stop, clicked over to 0. He was clear to go, and Jan Larison rejoins in the lead.
Yeah, absolutely right. Jan Larison now 10.2 seconds in front, Schouten in second. Vinales in third. There's John de Wilder. Battling it out with Ria Lucas there for that 5th place. And now John de Wilder moves ahead and will hold on to that position in 5th spot, and will then chase down Van der Velde. The driver change window has now come to an end. We've got just over, or just under 21 minutes of racing still to go, as we now see the 76 Lamborghini Super Trofeo make its way down the straight. Ria Lucas now behind the wheel in place of Charlie Hollings, who got them underway in this race. There we can see now the cars peeling through. Joan Vignez now in the car, replacing that of Juan Font. And Van der Velde now in 4th too. As we see further up, more flashes there of cars as they come on through as well. Dirk Schouten just certainly just letting the cars ahead know that he is coming through, wants to try and chase down Jan Larison for the race win. Unbelievably, Dirk Schouten still chasing his very first race win of this campaign, despite being on pole position on frequent occasions, has yet to taste top step glory this season.
Shelton blast past Julian Darris. I'm not sure he would have appreciated that. The young French driver with the win in Formula 4 at Le Mans in the French series a few years ago. Now on board the 007 Aston Martin. On your screen, car 13. It is the Andorran Joan Vignez, highly experienced. Just comes out off the first chicane, so it looks as though Jan Larison, a mechanical problem? No problem at all. We've all seen the Insta-vid of the aircraft mechanic taping up the cowling with race tape on a 737. Same trick. If it can survive, 500 miles an hour, 10 kilometres up in the air, I'm sure a bit of race tape will keep the bonnet of Jan Larison's 54 car closed. There it is. He's done a nice, neat job as well.
Yeah, it certainly has. Yeah, not getting underneath that bonnet whatsoever. Remember, we saw it flapping around at the very start of the race. Of course, now Jan Larison has no such trouble as he now makes his way down through towards the Ascari chicane. Dirk Schouten now, currently 9.6. He is closing, Dirk Schouten. The question is, will he have enough time in order to do it? We've got just over 19 minutes. A reprimand for car number 12. That belongs to Glauco Solieri for crossing the white line at pit exit. So the steward's taking note of that one. There is Dirk Schouten now, 9.7 seconds just in behind that of Jan Larison. Joan Vignez then 4.3 in behind him. John de Wilder has already caught up with Laurent van der Velde for that 4th place. Remember, he overtook Ria Lucas earlier on. The gap was quite extensive between him and van der Velde, but already catching up. And John de Wilder, who has claimed certainly the AM win on many an occasion this season, might choose, or certainly he might attempt to close up to Joan Vignez, albeit that will be such a difficult challenge given the fact that there is only 18 minutes and 20-odd seconds to go.
Yes, we're approaching the final quarter of the race here. The penultimate round of the series. Interesting and fortunate for Glauco Solieri. Just a reprimand for crossing the white line at the exit of pit lane. The same as what Max did at Monaco just a few months ago. In fact, Ralph lost a Grand Prix for crossing it entirely back in 2000 and something, I can't exactly remember. But it's gone from being a stop-and-go penalty, crossing the white line, to just a reprimand. So Glauco Solieri, currently in position 7, ahead of Julian Darras, who is on your screen, gets away with that one. Car 52, Laurent van der Velde, off the podium at the moment, coming up to pass the young French driver in the Aston Martin car. Van der Velde with John de Wilder right behind him. Fell back to 7th in the earlier stages of the race, did John. Position 2 yesterday. They exit the Roger chicane. And we'll see if Julian Darras can stay with the 2 Porsches just ahead of him. Into the Lesmo curves. Lesmo turn 1 and turn 2. They're on their 17th lap of this 50-minute race. Race 2. The penultimate round of the 2022 GT Cup Series. Jan Larison, one hand on the trophy. We said that at the start of the race. I think we can start engraving his first name at the bottom on the plaque at least.
Oh, he certainly could do. He's still got a few, quite a number of minutes still to go. John de Wilder also getting closer now to Laurent van der Velde. Of course, battling in the AM category. Of course, currently leading that contingent is Joan Vignez. John de Wilder, as I alluded to, is a former champion in his own right. Champion in the Dutch Supercar back in 2019, taking 4 wins that season. as he now goes side by side now with Laurent van der Velde. No, not this time, switches to the inside, just sold in the dummy, heading into the Parabolica. Brilliant move indeed by John de Wilder. That is expertise, that's experience to say the least. Incredible move from John de Wilder, gets the move done, but getting the slipstream will be van der Velde. They'll come past the pit lane, and Laurent van der Velde, who hasn't given up yet, might choose to open up the door and challenge, heading down through towards the Rettifilio chicane at turns 1 and 2. They remain side by side. De Wilder, though, with the favourable inside line, he will hold on to it. Van der Velde not quite enough to make the pass, but still nip and tuck as they rise out of turn 2. They got the Curva Grande coming up next, nose to tail, but currently now, certainly De Wilder holds on to P4.
Down the back straight into the Parabolica. John de Wilder going left, then going right. Down the inside, Van der Velde had to see the position, tried to fight back. Down the straight, and John de Wilder runs off the road. Cuts the chicane. These two so used to going wheel to wheel in the Bell Car Series, and also the Zolder 24-hour race in recent times as Van der Velde slides sideways at the exit of Lesmo 1. John de Wilder probably more experienced if we take in his overall career, also racing multiple 24-hour races, including the famed Dubai 24-hour race, the traditional season opener over in the desert in the United Arab Emirates, having competed in that event a couple of times, and of course both of them in Zolder in the 24-hour race in the Bell Car Series, and of course with us in the GT Cup Championship. Look at the Porsches, ride the curves, they go straight over the top of them.
They do.
India's just ahead.
They do indeed, absolutely right, just cutting through the Ascari chicane, zipping through that particular sector. We saw Jan Larison doing it in his first stint before the pit stop phase. Of course, he continues to do it now with the bonnet very nicely sewn up, shut as well, not letting any air through. So no concerns there. Dirk Schouten now 8.3 in behind that of Jan Larison. Still trying to chop at that wood, trying to bring down the deficit between him and Larison. Joan Vignez, 9.4 seconds in behind that of Schouten in third place. Currently leads the AM contingent, with now Van der Velde trying to track John de Wilder after that overtake from John de Wilder earlier on. The great dummy that he sold heading up through the Parabolica. It's exactly what you need to do to score big points here in the GT Cup Open Championship. Of course, Jan Larison, who is looking to take this by storm, obviously back at Paul Ricard, taking the first race win in race 1. Wasn't a performer in race 2, but came back at Spa and took the race win in race 1 and race 2. He then followed up with another double victory at Hungaroring. And of course, since then, has gone on to win here this weekend at Monza in race 1. And if it stays like this, he will claim yet another win to add to his locker, bringing his total up to 7 this season, should he be able to do that in 7 podium affairs as well. Incredible effort from Jan Larison all season. That's consistency.
Great young driver is Jan. Of course, we spoke about it in the rain yesterday. This event in 2021, the Cup cars ran together in concurrence with the GTOpen category. The faster, more open spec cars, combination of GT3 and GT4 cars in the GT Cup class. Racing here this afternoon, he was second, third, even first outright 12 months ago. He is a young talent. And yes, as we said, he's virtually got the championship sewn up. If he holds on for another 13 minutes, he'll just need to bring it to the line in virtually any position in Barcelona in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, the gap definitely extensive in between him and Dirk Schouten and Lucas Valcru. Currently hold on to second. Of course, John de Wilder then further back, holding on to that third place spot as they now venture in towards the first corners here. With just over 12.5 minutes remaining, Jan Larison still oozing confidence. Belgian driver looking very solid indeed in this contingent. Schouten currently now back 7.3. He is chopping at the wood, still bringing it down. It's come down by a single second already in the last 2 laps, so Schouten is going to work. Really needs to pile on the agony. It could be the case he could get closer by the end of the race, that's for sure. So it could be the case that we could see a final lap battle. There again, it might be the case that Larison is perhaps just watching his tyre wear, perhaps just keeping an eye on the condition of the car as well. Obviously, this being a very fast-paced Monza circuit, it can get very hot very quickly. Of course, 11 corners is what they undertake here. Plenty of high aggressive, high-speed corners. Not to mention a few low-speed corners as well, given the chicanes at the start at turns 1 and 2. Not to mention the next chicane at turns 4 and 5. but then you've got reasonably fast-paced corners such as the Lesmo bends before you then venture into Ascari as well, in which case now Larison will be looking to hop, skip and jump over those particular curves and attack the Parabolica before then commencing another lap. There is Dirk shooting now. He's coming through Ascari, and he himself also, getting the rear end just out from underneath him. And going so quickly, that is how much he's pushing right now. 7.1 seconds the gap now, so he's brought it down by another 2/10. Shooting is not messing around.
It surely won't be enough, particularly if there's a clean finish, no safety car intervention up until this point. Just the sole retirement, Stefano Zanini, car 44, and of course R01 Racing. Well, they'll be back in Bucharest by now after that nasty crash yesterday. The Romanian combination, Camille Perrion hitting the wall in the rain and sharing that car. He was to have shared that car with Florin Tincescu, who unfortunately did not race a lap here at Monza. We'll see them back for the series final in Barcelona in 3 weeks' time. So Dirk Schuiten will check the gap down to 6.9 seconds. So it's under 7. He is catching him, but there's only 10 minutes remaining in the race.
Yeah, so around the curve of Grande now. Jan Larison still holding on to the lead, but Dirk Schuiten still working hard to bring the gap down. So currently is 6.9 seconds, the deficit between him and Larison. Just touching a little bit of gravel. There's Jan Larison on the outset of Rogier, coming through the first Lesmo. And then we'll take the second Lesmo, the rear end, just sliding slightly. We just saw it just buckling underneath that Porsche. And there we see the distance John de Wilder. There is Joan Vignez, just cautiously making his way out now of the chicane at Rogier, and he'll then tackle the Lesmo. Just a little over 9 minutes and 50 to go, Ian. It's going to get spicy towards the end.
Certainly will, but I cannot see anybody passing Jan Larison. Almost, we can call him the champion-elect. The gap is down to 6.3 seconds, though. So another half a second by Dirk Schuiten, who led most of the race yesterday in the rain, catching Jan Larison. Locks up down into the chicane. Well, that's why he took half a second. That's why Dirk took half a second out of Jan. But he holds on to it in spectacular fashion down into the first chicane. That's why the gap went from 6.9 down to 6.2 seconds in a single lap. It would have been one almighty effort from Dirk, but in fact it was Jan who almost turned it around down into the chicane. Joan Vignez from Andorra, hugely experienced, is still in position 3. The Paporo Motorsport entry. Racing also in the GTOpen Championship throughout 2022, as well as the GT Cup category. Regular in the 24-hour series, has raced just about every one-make series there is. Say at Lyon Series, Clio Cup, also the Ferrari Challenge back in 2012. And as we told you in the rain yesterday, his rally skills competing in the European Rally Championship certainly were of benefit in atrocious conditions 24 hours ago. The Porsche 992 GT3 Cup spec car in third place and first in the AM category as well. So the field spread out in the dying stages of this GT Cup race. The penultimate round of the series, Jan Larison just checking as they came into this race here this afternoon, race 2 here at Monza. There's John de Wilde going through. So Jan Larison on 90 points. Dirk Schuiten and Lucas Valkyrie, they're in second at the moment. They were 17 points behind, but they will lose even further if Jan Larison holds on to the victory in 7 minutes and 40 seconds time. Third in the series, John de Wilde in car 56. He's fourth on the road at the moment behind this car from Paporo Motorsport. Eugenio Pisani, Stefano Zanini, unfortunately a DNF here this afternoon. Position 4 in the championship. They may well see that to Wame Font. In fact, they will if Joan Vignez brings the Paporo Motorsport car home in third place. So the cars spread out all around the circuit now. Just over 7 minutes remaining. Joan Vignez also competing in the Carrera Cup Series in the Benelux region, where so many of the drivers in the Cup category have come from. Competing in GTOpen. in the past few seasons as well. Goes very deep under brakes. Former competitor in the European Touring Car Championship as well. Joan Binez in car 13. J Font on the bonnet. That's his co-driver, Wame Font. And they're looking at P3 here this afternoon and an AMP-class victory. Lauritsen maintains the gap, 6.3 seconds back to Dirk Schouten, yesterday's race winner. Oh, sorry, yesterday's race leader. Almost was a winner, but Lauritsen just picked him off in the dying stages. There's De Wilde in the background. P2 yesterday was 7th off the start. Has fought back to 4th place, going by Laurent van der Velde a few laps ago. Ria Lucas, she's acquitting herself nicely in car 76 in position 6. The Super Trofeo Spec Lamborghini in 6th place ahead of Glauco Solieri. And Julian Darras in 007, Stefano Zerbi rounds out the field in car 9. A GT3 Cup, Generation 1 car, the 911 in the GT Cup Trophy class, sharing the car with Fabio Fabiani. So just over 5 minutes remaining here. The news this weekend, not only is it the penultimate round of the series, but the 2023 calendar has been announced for GTOpen, Euro Formula Open, and also this, the GT Cup category. They'll kick off next year in May at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, going to Hungary in June, the 17th and 18th. The third round for GT Cup, this is 2023, takes place at Paul Ricard in the south of France in the middle of July, as opposed to the end or the start of autumn here in the north of Italy. We're back at Monza with the GT Cup series, each time running together with GTOpen and Euro Formula. That's on the 23rd and 24th of September, so almost 1 year to the day. And the series final on the 21st and 22nd of October 2023. That's next year's series, so virtually mirroring that of 2022. This year's series concludes in 3 weeks' time at Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona in the northeast of Spain. And it may well conclude here, virtually here this afternoon, if Jan Lauritsen holds on for the victory. Just a class driver is the young talent from Belgium. As you look at John De Wilde in car 56, also a Belgian driver. Experience in multiple 24-hour races, including Zolder, including Dubai, racing in the Bell Car Series. Races down through the Serrallo Straight, under the bridge, trying to chase down and pass this guy. Joan Binez is 4 seconds ahead of car 56, who tries to turn the Ascari curves into, well, as straight a line as possible, exits. There is Stefano Zerbi at the bottom of your screen. He is a lap down, a couple of laps down, in fact, racing in the Trophy AM class. Into the parabolic, just over 3 minutes remaining. Jan Lauritsen has got this under control after an early scare with a broken mounting pin on the front bonnet. It was fixed with the old traditional race tape in the pit stops. And Jan Lauritsen is looking good. The gap is down to 5.7 seconds. Dirk Schouten, he is taking a couple of tenths out of Jan Lauritsen. Q1 Track Racing, the Belgian, but Lauritsen has got this under control. There is the gap between 3rd and 4th. John De Wilde on the podium yesterday, but P4 here this afternoon, exits turn 1. Uses every piece of the racetrack. Stefano Zerbi will get the blue flag in just a moment for the car in position 4. Q1 Track Racing, long-time supporter of the GT Cup Championship. Stefano Zerbi, car 9, just backs out of the throttle. He will get through the Rocha chicane. Nope, goes straight ahead. Out front, Jan Lauritsen, car 54. So he's about 1 kilometre ahead of the car we've been following, with just over 2 minutes remaining, so probably just on 2 laps. Straight lines the ripple strip. Gets airborne in car 54. The bonnet attached, there is no problem. There is Dirk Schouten in the background. 5.8 seconds, so half a length of the back straight here at Monza into the Michele Alboreto Parabolica. Renamed as such here at l'Autodromo di Monza just a couple of seasons ago in memory of the Milanese driver. who passed in a testing accident at the Lausitzring in Germany, driving for Audi almost some 2 decades ago. In honour of his memory and attended by his family, it is now officially known as the Michele Alboreto Parabolica. This is quite simply the Turn 1 chicane. Jan Lauritsen goes through it for the final time. This is now the final lap. Jan Lauritsen on his way to victory and almost certainly the 2022 GT Cup Championship. The gap, 5.2 seconds as he goes through the big corner. La Curva Grande, as it literally translates from Italian into Curva Roja. The gap, 5.2 seconds. That was Dirk Schouten in the background. Spectacular. Onto 2 wheels as he goes up into Lesmo 1. He accelerates the flat 6, absolutely screaming. The car from Stuttgart, the driver from Belgium. On his last lap now, Jan Lauritsen. One hand on the championship trophy under the old banking for the final time into the Ascari chicane. Top speed, incidentally, last time round for John de Wilde, 272 k's an hour out of the Ascari chicane. And down the back straight for the final time, Dirk Schouten. The gap is 5.4 seconds. He led most of the race yesterday, but Jan Lauritsen took him when it counted towards the end into the Parabolica for the final time. Yes, the car from Stuttgart, the driver from Belgium. Here in Italy, GT Cup, and race 2 goes to Jan Lauritsen. The checkered flag waves, and the championship leader almost sews up the 2022 title right here at the Cathedral of Speed. Dirk Schouten across the line in second place, sharing the car with Lucas Valkret, and on the podium, and with the AM victory as well, let's not forget that, Kwame Font and Joan Binez take P3 outright here this afternoon. John de Wilde, P2 yesterday, fell back to 7th off the start, but has come through to finish in P4, just misses the podium. Good drive from Laurent van der Velde, 3rd in the AM category, and 5th outright as he crosses the line now. And we wait for Ria Lucas to bring the 76 Lamborghini across the line in position 6. Also taking 3rd in the Pro-Am category as well. Dirk Schouten did absolutely everything. He finally got past Jan Lauritsen, but it was on this, the cool-down lap. Jan Lauritsen takes the victory. Q1 track racing taking 1st and 2nd here this afternoon as well. There is Ria Lucas. She takes the checkered flag. In 6th place, Glauco Solieri, just a place behind. And only 0.006 of a second behind as well. Glauco Solieri almost taking the Cypriot in car 76. This is the race leader and almost certainly the 2022 champion. Jan Lauritsen takes the victory after pole position on a wet track this morning. Valkret and Dirk Schouten, P2. Kwame Font, Joan Binez in 3rd place. John de Wilde driving the race solo. Look at that, 4 Belgians inside the top 5. Van der Velde and Van Dierendonk. Hollings and Lucas, after leading the race early on, did Charlie handing it over to Ria Lucas. She brings it home in P6. Solieri, Faisal Karim, Julian Darras, Fabiani, Stefano Zorbi, and Pisani and Stefano Zanini were out after a problem in pit lane after 22 minutes. So the championship going into the final round in Barcelona looks like this. Jan Lauritsen 20 points ahead of Dirk Schouten and Lucas Valkret. John de Wilde in 3rd place on 64. And it's Eugenio Pisani, Stefano Zanini get nothing out of this afternoon. They're still P4 on 49 points. Kwame Font 40 points. In 5th place is the Spaniard Laurent van der Velde. The Belgian on 30. Glauco Solieri still 7th. And Christopher Zochling in 10th place on 27 points, in 8th place, of course, behind Glauco in 7th. Jan Lauritsen, is this the 2022 GT Cup European champion? You'd almost have to certainly say yes. The battles cars, well, more precisely, the race tape on the bonnet of car 54. Jan Lauritsen with the victory here this afternoon in race 2. Perfect afternoon here in the north of Milan, in the north of Italy. Dirk Schouten did absolutely everything he could. Cut the gap from 8 seconds down to 5. Together with Lucas Valkyrie, the French driver with the Dutchman, they come home in 2nd place. Dirk and Jan for Q1 track racing, 1st and 2nd here this afternoon.
Bravo. Yeah, congrats. Hey, man. Dankjewel. Kut Lambo. Dat is echt schoon. Hey, die om mijn band.
3rd place for Wame Font and Joan Binez. Bringing it home in 3rd and with the AM victory for Vapora Motorsport. In 2nd, they gave it absolutely everything. Valkyrie and Dirk Schouten in P2, but Jan Lauritsen driving the race solo. He has almost wrapped up the 2022 championship with a perfect try to take the win here this afternoon. Jan Lauritsen is down in pit lane, and we're going to hear from the race winner,
Jan
the
Lauritsen,
championship leader.
another win, but this one you really had to sweat for it.
Yeah, it was a really cool race. In the beginning with the Lambo, he was, he had a very good speed, and he was really fast on the straight. So it's a cool race. And after, Dirk was, not close, but I have to give everything to stay in front of him. So cool race, yeah.
But very good move to take the lead in the Parabolica. That was.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna look to the
TV.
Yeah, to TV to look my move.
It looks fine.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all good for the championship. So now Barcelona.
Yeah, the last one Barcelona. So I'm very close to the championship. Yeah, looking forward.
Well done.
Thank you.
Bye.
Race 2 here at Monza got underway on a dry circuit. Charlie Hollings in the 76 Lamborghini from the outside of the front row of the grid with a super start trying to take the lead down into turn 1. Wame Font up the inside as well. There was contact. Hollings going straight ahead. No further action from the stewards as the field got through nervously at the start. Jan Lauritsen threw absolutely everything at the 76 Lamborghini, which was making its debut in the GT Cup Series here this afternoon. And Hollings, the British driver, super experienced and super drive as well. In the end, Jan Lauritsen had had enough and simply drove around the outside into the Parabolica. The Q1 track racing team celebrating with that fabulous move. Jan Lauritsen had a broken mounting pin on the bonnet. It was flapping in the air. Race tape did the job, and he would bring it home to the checkered flag. Jan Lauritsen untroubled despite the best efforts of Dirk Schouten, who cut the lead from 8 seconds down to 5.1 seconds. But that checkered flag did wave, and Jan Lauritsen took yet another victory to almost wrap up already the 2022 European GT Cup trophy. So we wait for the drivers to make their way out up onto the podium. The famous gantry. They'll walk the plank here at Monza before getting their trophies and standing on the podium. Position 3 for the Spanish Andorran combination of Binez and Font. Schouten and Valkyrie in P2. Dirk Schouten cutting the lead. down to 5 seconds, but Jan Lauritsen, all class, and he's virtually got one hand on the championship trophy for 2022. Third place for Bignez and Font. Second for the French-Dutch combination. And Jan Lauritsen from Belgium wins here in Monza. Thanks for your company. We'll see you for the championship decided. That's in 3 weeks' time at Barcelona in Spain on behalf of all the team. Thanks for watching GT Cup. We'll see you in Catalonia.